in a D-Boss and said there's still no product. So I said, well, let's talk about it in private so that it's not, don't get blowed up. And well, Herbert's talking. I'm muted, and D-Boss is muted. I'm finishing up a few things, cleaning, just listening, trying to let them talk, and it got kind of heated. I mean, Lori just, then Lori says, "Let me take a drink." Yes, I'm trying to be a straight shooter and letting everybody know. Okay, so while they're arguing, I hear Lori say, "I think Kells is sitting there enjoying this," and I was like, I waited a minute and I thought, really? Did I hear what I thought she said? And I was like, now mind you, this is after she pretended and me and her talked for a few days, even not even on the group chat. And, and I told her I was sorry. She told me she's sorry. We was trying to work things out. But I unmuted and I was like, what? I was like, well, hold up. I had to stop her and Bird from talking. I was like, Lori, what the fuck did you just say? She said, I think that you're enjoying this. I said, let me tell you something. I said, if I was fucking enjoying this, I'd have fired up a fucking live. And I said, we would have blasted your ass out about owing money or owing a product, just like we have everybody else that owes money or a product to somebody. Hence Mama T. I know you have seen all that shit when all that went on when Mama T owed, people money or whatever. I said, no, I thought between friends, I was trying to let you all work this out. But apparently you still have some kind of feeling some type of way towards me, Lori, or you wouldn't have said that. Well, then, of course, she goes in, well, you had some, I can't believe that you called D-Boss and Bird and brought them into this. And the other day, and I said, I can't believe that you went into Discord and talked to McKenna and then asked Kevin for advice on what to do when it comes to traders. And in this, instead of coming and talking to me, your co-host or your friends, when I said, yeah, I know. She said, well, me and Lips have talked for a while. I said, yeah, and you know how I feel about that shit too. I said, but you couldn't come to us. You go to somebody that don't know jack shit about nothing. And she said, well, I can't believe you went behind my back. And I said, I didn't go behind your back. I said, Bird and D-Boss felt some type of way about you not cluing me in on stuff. Bird called me. I didn't even badmouth you. If Bird's still in the chat, I said, I didn't badmouth you too. Bird, I was like, I'm just going to let it play out. This is after she'd been on Kevin's panel. I said, I'm just going to told Bird, I'm just going to let it play out. And D-Boss the same way that morning. I was like, I just told her, I was like, I need help. And I told her that Lori's wanting to go live and blurt out stuff about Peach and Ghost's children. And I said, and I don't want no part of that, D-Boss. So I didn't even badmouth Lori to D-Boss, okay? Wasn't nothing like that.
No, it didn't start out like that at all. It was very innocent. Like, she was just trying to tell Lori, like, I like, my reputation is everything. This is my channel. You're a co-host on there. I bring you up there because, people like you to get us together and all that. And I'm still getting to know you, Lori, but I can't go after these people. I don't have a beef with them. You have the beef with them. But if you go after them and nothing is said, then people think I'm pissed at them. And then guess who gets the repercussions? Kells. And she wasn't willing to do that because she didn't feel that way and didn't want to go down that path.
And I said, and you're going behind the scenes talking to this one and that one. And I said, I'm not talking to anybody. I said, in which Ash and Flossie can tell you, I didn't even say nothing in our little group chat that we talk in. The only two people I did go to was to D-Boss and Bird because like I said, we do talk quite a bit. We FaceTime when I was on my vacation. I talked to those three ladies. We FaceTimed each other about 4 times while I was on my vacation.
Yeah.
Sitting by the pool and stuff. So I went to somebody that was, one of Lori's friends, and I knew that, they could talk to her.
It was just neutral. We were just letting her know, like, you are a face on Kells's.
Right. And we just had done a live that we're not going to talk about children. I don't care whose children it is. It does not need to be brought up.
Right.
And so
there ended up being a lot of mistrust because when she went to Nicolina with the traders things, it wasn't because she went to Nicolina, not because of that. Yeah. It was because she didn't tell her, like, she didn't clue her in. She didn't, like, and then people are like, oh, where's Kells? She's going to have to face the music. Where's Kells at? Why is she hiding? Like, that's not fair to Kells. She was sick and people thought she was hiding. And I'm not saying you people here, but there was text or chat messages. Yeah. And it was because it was just like shady.
Mama, yes, I did have a little problem with them. That's not what D-Boss is saying. She's meaning, like, I didn't want the kid. I didn't want to bring the kid thing into it. That I had a problem.
Didn't want any more problems.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I didn't want any more problems, especially not to do with the kids.
Yes, and she was very adamant about that. And we were just like, you can't do that. And Lori said, I was mad. Like, I was mad, and I said that stuff, and I shouldn't have said that. But who knows what she was going to do on her own?
Right. Like, who's to say that she wasn't going to go live and say all that stuff because she got mad at traders, and as soon as she got mad at traders, the message, she sent the messages out. And like I said, and I do feel some guilt, guilt about that, and I felt bad, and I told Lori that I was so sorry because she made it sound like to me that her and traders had been really good friends for 2 years, and I thought if they could work it out, then then and so I was like, text traders and see if she'll have a talk with me
Yep.
and you. And
You
like
said
I said,
to me several times, I wish I could talk to traders. I would love to talk to traders. I want to
yeah,
talk to trader. You said that several times.
yeah. So anyway, so now we're on that conversation about the product and all that, and I said, Lori, I'm not enjoying any of this. It bothers me when friends have issues with each other. I said, just like it did with you and traders, because again, she made it sound like her and traders have been really good friends for 2 years. And I said, if I want, that's why we're talking to you in private. I said, just send the product. Well, of course, it got off the product on this conversation, and it got more on back of her being mad at me. She was mad at me because I got in touch with the Boston Bird. Her talking to Lips and Kevin and McKenna wasn't none of our business, and da 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 da. Well, so we get off that call, and then was it the next day or later on that night that we got on the next one?
I think it was later on that night.
Okay, so I was trying to think how that one started out.
Let me look at my phone. I can tell you.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think how it started out on that one. No. When I said this is when this was the last one until the next day, because then Ernie went live. Okay, so I said, Lori, I'm done. I said, I hope you waller in that comment that you made, saying that that I'm enjoying this. So then Ernie, we're on a group call, and still the same stuff, just kind of like bitching back and forth, and I was like, just melt. Did we get back on the so yeah, it was that night because Ernie's live was that night. So we're on that. So you're right. I thought it was the next day, but no, we were on that call when Ernie goes live, and we, there's, a little bit of arguing, and I was like, just mail the product, and she's like, no, I'll give a refund, and D-Boss was like, no, I don't want a refund. I want you to mail it, mail the products. And she said no, and I was like, of course, me and Bird's like, you can't have a business, you can't have a business and not mail product. It's we're going to come up on the middle of November. That was done in June. Just mail her a receipt. And she's like, no. And so Ernie goes live, and I get off the group call because my husband comes home and I'm cooking supper. And I talk to my husband a few minutes. He goes and gets in the shower. And the reason I'm putting this part in there is because it's kind of a little bit important. And I'm doing my supper, and so I thought, well, I'll turn Ernie on for a minute. And I had him in my ear, and I barely heard the tail end of something, and it was Lori's voice and lips. So I get back on the group call, and I'm like, what the fuck? Who? And Lori's like, I don't know who's saying anything. I ain't talked to Lips. I ain't told her nothing. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, you did. That was your voice. Clearly, that was your voice saying what I told you just a couple hours ago. Well, even if that, maybe an hour ago on this call, that I hope you waller in that comment. Because I'm not enjoying none of this. Not enjoying nothing about you and Bird arguing. Nothing about you, nothing about you've done. I'm not enjoying none of it. Okay, so she's adamant that she hadn't told Lips nothing. So Bird makes the clip of it. We put it in the group chat. So the next morning, she calls me and she says,
Wait, before all that, Kel, you forgot the horse report. Before this happened.
Oh no, that was after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What? Yeah. No. Maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. Okay. So yeah, maybe you are right about that. Okay. So that was.
There's so much.
Yeah, there's so much, but yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. That's how we got on the group call again after we had done talked about the recent stuff, and then it just led into that again. Okay. She calls and she's like, all excited, all bubbly, wasn't she? Wasn't she, D-Boss?
Yes.
Guess what Mark asked me? Mark asked me to do the horse report, and I don't think, she said, I'm not going to do it unless he pays me $300 an episode, and I know, and he's got the money because he sent me 50 for my birthday, and and I was like, okay.
Yeah, you were like, you're doing that on your own. I don't advise you to do it. You're doing it on your own. I want nothing to do with that. Nothing.
So it all came, and I'm thinking, there's that money thing again.
Yep.
There's that money thing again. She was, and the reason she said she went up on the panel is because she felt like she had to go up there and tell her story since he sent her $50 for her birthday. No, I mean, you can went up there and said thank you, but
yeah,
but do what you want. I don't care. I just don't want no part of it. You're doing too much now. You're talking to all them in Discord and all this stuff, and I don't know what you're at this point. I don't know what you're saying. I don't trust you because, like I said, you're so quick to tell me stuff about people. Yeah, and so I was just like, I don't want a part of that either. If you get up there and do the horse report with him, I don't want a part of it. And you will say that I have nothing to do with it. I don't want no part of it. Don't want no part of it. Okay, so and then she got mad at us because I guess, because none of us thought that it was a good idea. So
Well,
then,
first she said he was going to pay her $300,
mm,
and she said,
oh yeah, then she said 500. Yeah,
and then she changed
he
it.
offered
Said,
her. Yeah, he offered her 300, and that's when she said, "I'm not going to do it unless he gives me 500." Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. See, there's just so much, y'all, just so much in like a short
yeah,
little time.
yeah.
Okay, so then it gets back on the wreaths and stuff, and I'm like, just mail the product, just mail DeBoss your stuff, and that way nothing has to She went Mark. She said that Mark said he would pay her $300, but she said she wasn't gonna do it unless he paid her 500. L Kennedy. So, so I was like, just mail it. Mail stuff. She's like, no, you'll get a refund. I'm not mailing you nothing. And D Boss was like, no, I want my product. I paid over $200 for it, and and now mind you, she still wanted D Boss to send money for shipping, which D Boss did tell her she would.
Yeah.
Because D Boss really wants that reef is absolutely gorgeous that she made for Bird. It really is. It really is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's not about the product she makes. It's not
right,
about it,
right.
It's the principle.
But D Boss, her me and Bird's muted, and her and D Boss is trying to talk it out. She's like, just mail me my product. And Lori's like, no. She's like, no. And I finally said, Lori, D Boss has done paid for that. You should give her product. And she said no. And of course, then Ernie goes live, and all that's going on. Like I said, I get off the group call. They stay on a few more minutes, and I get off, talk to my husband, and so I hear that, and I call the group call back again. I was like, Lori, I said, what the fuck have you said to Lips or Kevin or Ernie or whoever the fuck? I said, because it's just weird that they know, and it's just that's for that know.
And this whole time, she has said she's not talking to anybody. She
can't stand them. She can't stand them.
She doesn't talk to any of them.
Yeah, she don't
and
like
especially not about Kells. Kells was worried, like if she's talking about other people, to me, what is she saying about our situation here? And she didn't want that to get out lies about it,
Right, which I knew she talked to Lips. Let me back that up. I knew she talked to Lips, but I'm saying no, I didn't know what all she was telling Lips about me at this point. And I knew she talked to Lips, but I said, you've had to tell her something. I said, and that was your voice up there. And she's like, no, very adamant that she wasn't. And again, saying, I talked to Lips, but I can't stand her. And, I was like, no, clearly you do. Clearly you're good friends. I mean, Kevin and, Lips is up there saying, Mark was talking to my good friends behind my back. And Lori had told me that her and Mark had been on the phone for hours, at a time talking about stuff. So I was like, the next morning, like I said, we sent that clip in the group chat, and it says, it's Lori talking, and it says, this is Lori. She says, Kells said I can waller in that comment, and the comment was, and then Lip says something to Ernie, and then she's like, I set you all up, assholes. Well, and Lori's like, she calls me next morning, and I'm telling her this, what it says. I can't understand what it's saying, but if that's what it says, I don't know how or why, because still lying to me. I didn't tell Lips that. I didn't tell Lips that. I said, you had to tell Lips that, Lori. What part don't you understand? It's on a recording now. It's on Ernie's live. Either it's a voice recording that you sent Lips, or, I was like, because that's your voice saying that. And I said, and that's what I just told you in the conversation that we had with all four of us on the phone last night. And that's your voice saying, Kells said, I hope you waller in that comment. And she's lying to me. Nope, I didn't tell Lips that. Nope, I didn't tell Lips that. I said, if you can't hear it good on that clip, go back and listen to Ernie's, slow it down, and you clearly can hear Kells said, I hope you waller in that comment. And
so you were already having trust issues with her, because of her going to Nicolina, not talking to you, and it was just like you guys are running kind of a channel together, like that, you need to talk to each other because you're the face of the channel.
Right. And then they're asking Kevin for advice and not talking to me.
Right.
And at the same time saying, I don't like Kevin, I don't like Mark, I don't like I'll pull it up here. She don't like them, but she don't like McKenna, but she's having conversations with them. And so finally I get her, I'm like, look, I was like, stop lying to me. I said, and finally she's like, yeah, I did, wait a minute, trying to find her new channel. She said, okay, yes, excuse me. I did tell her that, and it wasn't a voice call. I was actually on the phone with her while she was backstage at Ernie's, and when Ernie pulled her up, you heard me talking. And I'm like, so you've sat here and lied to me like 50 times, and then now you're, now I'm trying to figure out what live it was.
It was his last night live.
No, not when let's see. In a fight, headbuster. What in the hell's happening in Discord? Here it is.
So she was already having problems trusting her. There was a crack. There was a big crack, and they were trying to get it fixed, trying to figure it all out. And Kells was like, I don't want this to be content. I said that. Y'all need to figure it out. And they kind of did. And then there ended up being another crack. And then Kells was like, who who are you talking to? Like, who are you telling our business to behind the scenes? And she's like, nobody. And she says, you have to be telling somebody because you went up on, or lips went up on Ernie's. She's going to play it right now. And I'll let you guys play it. So I'll let you play it, Kells.
Okay.
It'll make more sense to them.